Mike Tomlin has been under fire recently, putting his job security in question. He's been the head coach of the Pittsburgh Steelers for so long, but right now, people are calling for change. So we're going to dive into this today because this is an exciting new topic that came to light in the last hour or so. People have been saying for weeks that Mike Tomlin should be fired, but this is something new coming up on ESPN, that this is even something that's being talked about heading into Wild Card Weekend. So we have to talk about it here on Steelers Digest. You guys know we cover all of the latest Pittsburgh Steelers news and content. This qualifies, so subscribe to the channel and we will get you even more Steelers content moving forward. This is an exciting thing to talk about today because truly, crazy takes on ESPN, on First Take. They're used to this, right? Their show is based around getting views, creating excitement and entertainment value for sports fans. So they are going to say some blasphemous things on their show just to try to get people to watch, people to follow, and then read articles such as the article I'm about to show you guys, where Stephen A. Smith called out Mike Tomlin. And what he said exactly was, "I love Mike Tomlin, is a new voice and new vision required." To even bring that up tells you what side Stephen A. Smith is taking in this situation. And then Dan Orlovsky came back and said, "It's the dumbest thing I've heard in the NFL this season that the Steelers should entertain moving on from Mike Tomlin." Now, I'm on Dan Orlovsky's side personally, but there are a lot of people that think Mike Tomlin's old-fashioned approach is not working in today's NFL that's built around offense. So I have to show you another article that basically says Mike Tomlin's old school mentality is failing in today's NFL. So that's something that people really believe. I mean, what I will tell you, and I'll give you my opinion on this whole thing when we get to that portion of it, but we have to cover both sides of the coin. There's two sides to every argument, and there's two sides to every coin. So here we're covering the first part, which is Mike Tomlin maybe should go. There are two sides to this. The first side is that his old school mentality is failing in today's NFL. You can look at his records, and the records will tell you, yeah, Mike Tomlin has struggled. But what you have to understand is most teams go through a rebuild process. And I said this in the last video. Most teams have seasons where they lose games, get a high draft pick, and try to build a team back up. Mike Tomlin has taken some pretty bad teams to the playoffs. They've had winning records and made the playoffs with some subpar rosters. So that's something that people don't really get, is that, oh, the Steelers are supposed to be Super Bowl contenders. Look at that team some of these last few seasons and tell me they should be Super Bowl contenders. Are you nuts? Okay, so that's one side of this. But let's look at what the actual article says. This is the headline, but let's look at the article itself. The argument is, while it's no secret that the Fire Mike Tomlin supporters are gearing up for another call for change regarding the Pittsburgh Steelers head coaching position, skipping the rest of that, the age-old, he's never had a losing season argument looks weak after 4 consecutive losses to end the season. There's a simple reason for this late season collapse. Tomlin's coaching style doesn't work in 2024. Similar to the headline, that it's this old school mentality, defense first, that doesn't play in today's NFL, which, again, crazy, but that's the take, okay? Mike Tomlin is a great defensive mind, but his over-reliance on defense is why the Steelers have yet to win a playoff game since 2017. Well, there's a lot of reasons why they haven't won a playoff game since 2017. I wouldn't put that on Mike T. Anyways, the Pittsburgh Steelers currently have the most expensive defense in the NFL, while many of the season's Super Bowl favorites have adopted a more offensive-focused team and coaching style. His inability to adapt in this offense-driven league, the basic black and gold playbook, and his over-reliance on star players to compensate for questionable decision-making have caught up to him, okay? So that's part of it. That's one side of the coin. There are a lot of people that believe this, truly. And Stephen A. Smith questioned it on First Take, which is one of the most popular sports shows in America. So when that happens, we have to talk about it here on Steelers Digest. People are putting Mike Tomlin in the hot seat. And Mike Tomlin should never be in the hot seat, because without Mike Tomlin, what is Pittsburgh Steelers football? Do you really want to change the identity of a team that has had so much success in a time where they arguably shouldn't have had much success? Okay, so let's look at Mike Tomlin's record first. We showed this in last video as well, but let's reassess what Mike Tomlin has done over the last few seasons, because maybe people are getting it twisted. His coaching results are impressive. Obviously, never had a losing season is the first argument everybody always makes. The other argument is that he won the Super Bowl with a team that wasn't his. That was a team that was already established before Mike Tomlin took over as the head coach of the Pittsburgh Steelers, and since then, they have not had much success. Those are two arguments. Two dumb arguments, but they're arguments nevertheless. So as long as you can base facts around those arguments, go right for it. Go ahead, shoot your shot. But when Stephen A. Smith says something on First Take, I'm not taking much merit with that. Now, this guy has made a living talking sports. I respect that. I respect Stephen A. Smith. I respect the marketing strategy of First Take. But I also know that he's had a lot of blasphemous takes in the past as well, and a lot of things that have made little to no sense whatsoever, this being one of them. Why are we talking about this a few days before a playoff game? We should be talking about, okay, yeah, the Steelers are struggling. How are they going to turn things around? But instead, I have to address this not elephant in the room whatsoever. The elephant in the room is how are we going to get past the Baltimore Ravens? But instead, let's just get more views and let's talk about Mike Tomlin being in the hot seat, which is completely wild and out there. Now I can get into my cake, which is going to take a lot less time than trying to address the side that I don't understand. But what I do understand is that Mike Tomlin is too valuable to fire. You will not fire Mike Tomlin. Unless you don't have any brain cells, you do not fire Mike Tomlin. Maybe trade Mike Tomlin if it comes to that. I'm not endorsing that at all. But if you're going to get rid of Mike Tomlin, he's not getting fired. He's getting traded, because a lot of teams would kill for a head coach of Mike Tomlin's caliber, and a culture change such as the New York Jets desperately need a culture change. So many teams are in that boat. So there's more teams in that boat than the Steelers' boat of having, a sub-mid team every single season instead of fully rebuilding. They're getting all these great draft picks. Omar Khan's doing a great job building up this roster, continue to make them better year after year. Quarterback position, are the questions finally being answered? Who knows? But the defense has been consistently good until the last few games, and now all of a sudden everyone wants to bring up the same argument that they bring up every year, that Mike Tomlin is the problem, that Mike Tomlin should go. What is wrong with you people? Do you really have nothing better to talk about on a Thursday in January, heading into wild card weekend? So now we look at Chase Daniels' take on things. Ex-NFL quarterback Chase Daniels says the Steelers should be banished if they fire Mike Tomlin. And that is 1,000,000% true. Because why would you ever fire a head coach that has accomplished all the things that Mike Tomlin has accomplished? Again, if he's going to go in a trade. Think about Sean Payton. Okay, and that's part of the argument. Let's look at this side of the argument, because this is a side that I stand with, a side that I fully, wholeheartedly agree with, and it's easier for me to talk about it. And Chase Daniel knows what he's talking about because he's a former NFL quarterback, unlike Stephen A. Smith or whoever else is going to make the argument for the counter. So this argument from Chase Daniel says if the Steelers fire him, they should be banished from the NFL. He said that on FS1 on a show called The Facility. I'm going to use the Saints as an example with Sean Payton. I was with him for 5 years. Sean Payton was the best thing to ever happen to that Saints organization, brought them their Super Bowl, and got really close like 3 or 4 other times where they lost crazy in the playoffs. What has the Saints franchise been since he left now? Well, not much. So that argument stands true as far as I know, because it was proven that the Saints have not been much since Sean Payton left. A Super Bowl winning head coach that they decided to move on from, and now look at that organization. The exact same thing would happen to the Pittsburgh Steelers if Mike Tomlin went anywhere but where he is in Pittsburgh. He belongs in Pittsburgh. He belongs on our side, and this team will get better as long as Mike Tomlin is the head coach. You can't teach what Mike Tomlin does. His approach with preparation, with game plans. Now, there has been a lot of controversy around that lately too, so I'm not going to get down that rabbit hole. But I will say, trading Mike Tomlin would be the only way he would ever leave Pittsburgh. I'm confident in saying that. But I don't think it would happen, and I don't think it should happen. So these takes are so far out there, so unrealistic, that I can't wrap my head around it. But I can tell you guys 100%, wholeheartedly, Mike Tomlin should be the head coach of the Pittsburgh Steelers, and he should be the head coach of the Pittsburgh Steelers as long as he wants to be the head coach of the Pittsburgh Steelers. Think about how much lack of respect that shows to one of the greatest coaches we've ever seen if they fire him because they made the playoffs. Okay. See, when you say it that way, it makes less sense. And that's where I am. That's where I stand on it. It is so dumb that I can't even talk about it that much longer. Okay. This is something we're just squashing right now, heading into wildcard weekend. Let's focus on the game at hand, and let's stop throwing out there these crazy takes about Mike Tomlin being on the hot seat. He is not on the hot seat. You guys can bring this argument up every year, time and time again, the same dumb, pointless, meaningless, blasphemous argument, and it's going to be the same result. Mike Tomlin will be the head coach of the Pittsburgh Steelers again in 2025, 2026, 2027, 2028. So keep making your argument. We'll keep one of the best coaches in the league. And hey, we'll keep winning games. We'll keep making the playoffs. You guys can laugh all you want, but Steelers football, baby, this is what we got. And we got the Ravens on Saturday. So the next episode of Steelers Digest will be a game preview. So thank you guys for tuning into this episode. I've been Remington Kuhn, and we'll see you on the next episode. Subscribe to the channel if you want the latest updates on your Pittsburgh Steelers, including blasphemous takes on First Take about Mike Tomlin possibly being fired. Thank you guys for watching, and we'll see you next time.